All right, guys, hello. Today we're going to be talking about proportions, and these look scary, don't they? Um, they look a little bit scary, and that's okay. We're going to learn how to deal with these, and you'll find they're actually not that bad. Okay, so proportions. A proportion is when you have a fraction set equal to another fraction. The tricky part with this is so many kids don't know where to start, and that is, right? These are kind of ugly at the start, right? Nobody likes to deal with fractions. But there's going to be something that we use a strategy that we use to solve these, and that's called cross multiplication. Yes. Okay. So cross multiplication. How does that work? Well, again, it's I've also heard it called the butterfly method or lots of other fun names, but cross multiplication. So we're going to cross multiply, right? So why would we multiply? Well, a fraction is showing division, right? This is another way of saying x divided by 4, and then the group x plus 7 divided by 2, okay? And so to cancel out those divisions, we need to multiply. And what's nice is I can kind of cancel out both multiplications at the same time through this strategy, cross multiplication, okay? So how does that work? I'm going to multiply the bottom of the one fraction times the top of the other fraction, okay? And you see in this one, how does that work? Well, this is saying 4 times the top here, okay? And notice this is a whole group. There's more than one term up here. So it's actually going to be 4 times that group, x plus 7. And how I would write that would be 4 times x plus 7. Okay, kind of like I would be distributing, right? And I will end up distributing that, okay? And so that's going to be on one side of the equal sign, is going to be that the bottom of the one fraction times the top of the other, okay? And then on the other side is going to be just the opposite, the top of the fraction times the bottom of the other one. Okay, so you see it makes an x across, right? So x times 2, or usually I write the number first when it's just a number times a variable, right? 2 times x, or 2x, okay? And so now here's what I have, and now it's not in these messy fractions anymore, and it's nice. I can deal with this now and solve it, okay? So let's move forward, solving, right? And so this one is involving distribution, like I said. So 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 7 is going to be positive 28, okay? And that equals, this side has nothing to simplify, so it just stays 2x, okay? And so now here's a tricky step, okay? Normally what I would do is minus 28 from both sides and isolate the x here, right? But unfortunately, you notice there's an x over here too. Even though it's just a single term, this is still an x term. So if I minus 28 from both sides, it wouldn't do me a whole lot of good because this would, right, I can't combine minus 28 with the 2x because this is a variable term. They're two different types of things. So what I have to do here is combine my x terms, okay? And I said in a previous video that normally we want to cancel out the variable term on the right side. And you could do that here and you could still get it right. It would take an extra step. So I'll tell you, again, our end goal is going to be, right, and when you think about what are further on in equations, what they usually look like, it's usually the x term on one side. Again, this is different than the problem, but the x on one side and then the number on the other side, right, 28. So, right, that's what I want. That's what I want to get this down to. I want it to be the x term on one side with the constant or just the number on the other side, okay? And so you think about how can I get it to look like that? And I can do that if I move, right, my constant term's on this left side right now, okay? And there's an x term here and there's an x term here. So if I cancel out this 4x, that will move it to the other side that has my x term, and then it'll leave my constant on my other side, okay? That might take some practice, and again, you won't get it, if you minus the 2x from both sides, you can still get the problem correct. I'm trying to show you the strategy that takes the least amount of steps, okay? So positive 4x, if I minus 4x from both sides, right, our golden rule, we have to do that to both sides for it to stay in balance as an equation, I cancel that, right? And so what am I left with? I'm left with 28. Again, you can draw your line here to separate. 28 equals 2x minus 4x So again, those are like terms I can subtract. 2 minus 4 gets me negative 2x. Okay? And so now I have, again, my x term on one side and my 28 on the other side, my constant, okay? And the x term's on the right. A lot of the time it's on the left, and that's okay. Again, right here, this is fine. If you're more comfortable writing it with the x term on the left because that's what you're comfortable with, you're able to do that. 2x equals 28, and you can go from there. If that really helps you, if this is kind of confusing with the x on the right, switch it around. That's legal, okay? So then, yeah, last step here, again, this is not, we would not add 2, we would divide by 2, or sorry, negative 2, because, again, this is multiplied by the x. So I have to cancel out the multiplication with division, okay? So divide both sides by negative 2, and I'm left with, when I cancel that, I'm left with x equals 28 divided by negative 2 is negative 14, okay? And so again, what did we just find? Well, we found that, again, this is the missing value. X has to be negative 14 for this to be true. So negative 14 over 4 is equal to negative 14 plus 7 over 2. As always, if you want to pause the video and try these guys yourself, do it. Or just wait a couple seconds and I will jump into these. So get going if you want. Okay, here we go. We're going to solve these guys out. So again, proportion. Anytime you see that it's a fraction on both sides, okay, one side has a fraction, the other side has a fraction, cross multiplication is the way to go, okay? And again, that starts the same way. The top of the one, and it doesn't really matter the order, like if you do the top one times the bottom of the other one first. Again, the order doesn't matter as long as you get the process correct, okay? So let's do the top of this one times the bottom of this one, okay? So x minus 1. Okay, x minus 1, that is a group, right? That's more than one term. So I'm going to write it in parentheses to remind me to distribute this single 5 to that group. So that's going to look like 5 times the group x minus 1. Okay, and I'm going to distribute that, like I said. And then, so that is one side of your equal sign, is 5 times x minus 1. And if you did 8 times that one first, I know that's what I did over here. I did the bottom first. That's fine. Again, it'll work out. It's the same, okay? 8 times this, x minus 4. Again, that's a group as well. So we're actually going to have 2 separate distributions here. It's going to be 8 times this group, x minus 4, on the other side. So now let's do that. I'm going to have a little double distribution action going here, okay? And so 5 times this group. Again, I don't keep distributing the 5. I just keep it on this left side. And then I'm going to distribute also the 8, multiply that, times both of those terms, okay? So I get 5 times x, that's just 5x. 5 times negative 1, again, we think of that as a negative 1, so 5 times negative 1, negative 5, okay? Good. And then equals 8 times x, 8x. 8 times negative 4, negative 32, okay? So I distributed that. Awesome. Okay. And so you see here, now I have, again, an equation. I got 2 variable terms, one on each side, and I've got 2 constants. Okay. So again, make it your goal to get all the variable terms to one side, all the constant terms to the other side. And it doesn't make a difference if you move the variable terms to the right, the constants to the left, or you do the other way around. Either way, you should end up with the right answer. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minus this 8x, because this is positive 8x. So 8x minus 8x will give me 0x, and that'll cancel, right? And just because I don't have a lot of room, I'm actually going to do 2 steps at once here, okay? I canceled out this 8x, which means my variable terms are going to be here on the left, okay? And that means I want my constant terms to be here on the right, which means this negative 5 shouldn't be over here. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides, because that's minus 5 or negative 5. And so plus 5 will cancel that, right? So that'll cancel there. And then I do plus 5 there, okay? And so Hopefully you're able to follow that. Again, I know I'm just running out of room, which is why I'm doing 2 steps at once. Okay, so I have 5x minus 8x. So 5 minus 8 gives me negative 3x. Okay, let me erase this real quick. All right, equals negative 32 plus 5. So negative 32 plus 5 takes me to negative 27. Okay, so there we go. Again, you know you did it right when you got variables on one side, constants on the other. And if you did it the other way, you might have positive 3x equals positive 27. Okay, and you'll get the same answer. Okay, mine just has more negatives. So I would rather be, if you did that, I would rather be in your position than this right here. But that's okay. With it, we'll still get the same answer. Okay. So right now I cancel out this negative 3 times x with division, divide both sides by the negative 3, so I get x equals negative 27 divided by negative 3 gives me a positive 9. Okay, so I move my answer up here. Let's solve out number 2. Okay, so again, proportion. You know it's a proportion. Got 2 fractions, one on each side. Okay, so I'm going to cross multiply, and that is going to be this group, 2x plus 3, times this bottom of this fraction, and that is a 3. And again, this is a group, so I'm going to do 3 distributed to this group. So 3 times 2x plus 3 on the left, okay? And then on the other fraction, the bottom here times the top here. And again, on the top here is another group. So I have to multiply this 5 times each of the terms in that group, or distribute, right? So 5 times x minus 8. Okay, so again, same steps as above. I distribute first, okay? So I distribute 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times the positive 3 is positive 9. So on the left there, I get 6x plus 9 equals, and then I distribute 5 times both terms in this group. So 5 times the x gives me 5x, and then 5 times the negative 8 gives me negative 40. Okay? And so again, at this point, I distributed, so now it's time to move stuff around, cancel stuff, so to get the variables on one side, the constants on the other. Okay? So I'm going to minus this 5x, even though this is negative, that negative goes with the 40, right? So I look at this is positive 5. So positive 5 cancels with minus 5. And then I do that to the other x term on the other side, and that cancels this, okay? And then over here, I got positive 9, right? Variables over here canceled. So I want the variables on this side, which means I want the constants on this side. So I need to minus 9 from both sides to cancel that one. And so when I do that, variables over here, 6x minus 5x gives me 1x. And this is great because I'm actually going to skip a step because I'm not going to have to divide anything because 1x is the same as just x. And so, awesome. So I'm going to be done right here. I just need to do negative 40. Don't forget this is negative. Negative 40 minus 9 more. So negative 40 minus 9 takes me down to negative 49. Okay, so there are some proportions there. Hope that was helpful. And we're getting towards the end of equations here, so good job.